I'm Jackson Kennedy, and this is tonight's sports. So the big game we've all been waiting for, the creme de la creme of NFL playoff football, the granddaddy of all that is sacred and holy and hallowed and revered throughout bars and pubs and lounges and man caves across this great nation of ours, is now history. And what is our reward for our patience and resolve, for our restraint and sufferance? Our reward was a game that was over midway through the second quarter, halftime at the very latest. And that's because, ladies and gentlemen, the Philadelphia Eagles weren't interested in rewarding us. No, they weren't. The only thing the Philadelphia Eagles were interested in doing was debasing and humiliating the two-time defending champion Kansas City Chiefs, as far as the rule book would allow, to win Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans tonight by a 40-22 score. And you know something? It was a pleasure to watch. Oh, maybe not if you were a Chiefs fan, but how could you not admire the brutally strategic game plan devised by Eagles coach Nick Sirianni and his staff? It relied on the monstrous strength of their defensive line and had Super Bowl MVP Jalen Hurts picking apart a defense that looked like they were straight out of Monty Python's Twit of the Year competition. They're not, of course, but that's how good Hurts was tonight. If you were a Chiefs fan, you probably turned the game off midway through the third quarter, right after Hurts hit Devonta Smith for a 46-yard touchdown to make it 34-zip Philly. That's pretty much when you could hear an announcer somewhere saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has just left the building." Hell, I knew KC was in trouble when Cooper DeJean picked off a Pat Mahomes pass and took it to the house for a 17-0 Philadelphia lead. After that, you could hear a fat lady somewhere clearing her throat. That we weren't yet at halftime was the only thing that kept her from belting out her tune. So there you have it, folks. A 40-22 final that wasn't as close as the score would indicate, only because the Chiefs scored 2 late touchdowns. I know that most would admonish this Super Bowl as super boring, but again, watching a professional at the top of their game go out and execute what years of training and preparation taught them to do is no different than watching, say, the London Symphony belting out Beethoven's Ninth. The Eagles were so good, in fact, that Saquon Barkley wasn't a factor. Hurts and the Philly defense did all the heavy lifting, Jalen throwing for 220 yards and 2 touchdowns, running for another TD himself, and ultimately leading both teams in rushing with 72 yards. And the defense sacked Mahomes 6 times, picked him off twice, returned 1 for a touchdown, and stuffed the Kansas City ground game so bad that Thanksgiving turkeys everywhere were envious. Moving on to other sports, in the NBA, Milwaukee got 43 points from Damian Lillard to power their way past the Sixers. 135-127. Sorry, Philly fans, you can't win them all. In Detroit, Cade Cunningham rang up his 8th triple-double of the year in helping the Pistons to a 112-102 victory over the Hornets. And the Houston Rockets finally ended their mysterious 6-game skid, beating the Raptors 94-87. Lastly, just when it looked like the Dallas Mavericks might be okay with Anthony Davis in their lineup instead of Luka Doncic, the team is reporting that the injury that caused Davis to be pulled in last night's game will sideline him up to a month. Damn, the basketball gods can be pretty cruel, can't they? In hockey, just 2 games this afternoon. Tampa Bay gave themselves some breathing room in the 3rd spot in the Atlantic, taking down the still struggling Montreal Canadiens, 5-3. And in Washington, the Caps got 3 assists from Alex Ovechkin and 2 goals and an assist from Tom Wilson, but it was Utah coming away with the win by virtue of the shootout 5-4. Which brings us to our coveted all-star stud performance for today. I think that it's obvious where we're going with this, as well as who it's going to be, because one man stood out over the rest for our prestigious honor. We're looking at Jalen Hurts, of course, the star quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. We've already given you his numbers from tonight, so there's no sense repeating them, because you see, when you're dismantling the 2-time defending champs by throwing for 2 touchdowns and running for another, while leading both teams in rushing on the grandest stage in the game, you're going to unquestionably be, as Jalen Hurts is for us, our ass of the night.